Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Kesubos daf Mem Dalid. We are going to begin on Mem Dalid Amud Aleph, the third line from the top. So we concluded in yesterday's daf, we discussed the situation where a person wrote for his wife two Kesubos, and they were written on two separate dates. One of them, or the first one, was for $200, or 200 zuz, and the second one was for 300. So we ended up saying that certainly it doesn't mean that she'll be able to collect both of them, because it would have been stipulated on the second star that that was the situation. And therefore, the first one she could collect from. However, because it's predated, the shibud, or the lien, will go all the way back to that earlier date, and she'll be able to collect from Lukuchos from all the way back then. However, if she would want, instead, she could collect the 300, but only from the later date. And that's what was discussed. So on this, the Gemara asks as follows. Omer Mar, Iboy Bahai Gavia, Iboy Bahai Gavia. So when it comes to the Ksuba, we say that she could collect either the 200 or the 300. She can collect from either one. So, Lema Pligad Rav Nachman. L'chayra, this statement goes against the Shita Rav Nachman. The Yom Rav Nachman, Shnei Shtaros Hayotzin B'Zer Chazeh. Let's say a person has one field that he's selling, or let's say he's giving it away, doesn't really matter, but one document is written for the month of Nisan, and the other one is written for the month of Sivan, a couple months later. So the fact that you wrote the second star, Bito Shenes Arishon, we say that the second one cancels out the first document. And therefore Rashi says, therefore, V'im Kosavlo Achrayas, let's say there's Achrayas on it, a lien, for Tarfu Mimenu, Ein Goyva Elmazman Sheni. You can only collect from the second or later date. So the question, the Gemara says, or is assuming that disagrees with Rav Nachman, V'achanami Name Arishan Batale, by the Ksuba, where it was 200 then 300, you shouldn't be allowed to choose the one that you want. We should say that the fact that he wrote the second star cancels out the first one. So why do we say the first one potentially could still be collected? So la miyin marla. So the Gemara says, did we learn regarding this that Omer Papa Moed Rav Nachman, that even Rav Nachman, who says that the first one was canceled out, he'll agree that if, let's say, you would add even a date palm tree, it means additional property on the second document, so at that situation, it just shows that you're really adding on to it. And therefore, you're not coming to mevatel the first star, you're just coming to add on to the first star. And therefore, if you say additional property on the second star, that doesn't cancel out the first one. So achanami ha'oisavla midi. So too over here, he added, because the first star said 200 zuz. This one says 300. So therefore, because of that, in that situation, it will not cancel each other out. Gufa. Rav Nachman. So let's explain and understand this case a little bit better. Again, you have two documents for the same property, same land. One was written for the month of Nisan, and the second was written later on for the month of Sivan. So Bitul Shenes Rishon. So we say that the second one cancels out the first. Omer Papa Moed Rav Nachman, as we said, the Oisef Beidiklo L'Toiseves Kasve. So the din is that if it was written something addition in the second star, then it doesn't cancel out the first one. Now, Pshita, the following case, is simple, that if, let's say, Rishon b'mecher, that the first star had the appearance that it was an actual sale of property, V'sheni b'matana, and then the second one is a gift, so we say, liyapos kochahu dekosevle. Maybe the reason why he wrote this is in order to be able to increase his strength. Mishum din de bar metzra. And we know that the din of bar metzra, is that a person who owns land, so they have certain rights. If there's land that's being sold adjacent to it, that they should be able to purchase that land first. Says Rashi, V'inami lo oisepe, that even if, let's say, he didn't add anything in the second star, lo bitl sarishon, maybe the fact that the second was written as a matana, the first one should not be batal. El delo litnu b'nei mitzra le'arurei. We just don't want people to complain. The kaimalan matana leisba mishum dina de bar metzra. In other words, he only wrote this as a matana because, and therefore, the question is maybe that's the case, but he wants the first one to remain because the din of bar mitzvah only applies to a loikeach, to an actual transaction. However, when it comes to matana, there's no din of the bar mitzvah. In other words, no one can complain and say, how come you didn't sell this to me? So no, I gifted it. So that's the reason why. So maybe the reason why he wrote that second star is in order to be able to allow this person to not have to fall into the issue of bar mitzvah. But really, it was really a mechira, and therefore you really want the first star to still work. So therefore that's yafas koichai. The kolshken rishon b'matan v'sheni b'mecher, certainly if let's say it was the other way around, if the first one was a gift, and the second one was a mecher, the amrina mishum dina de bal chayivhu, de kosev kain. You did it because of the din of creditors. Because again, the whole notion of when does a creditor come, it's only when it comes to a transaction. It says Rashi, Di osi bal chayiv tarif le'minei, kabul of achrayis b'shtar hasheni. The second star, which says it was an actual mecher, shows that you have there's a shibud on it, not by a matana. If I give you a gift and someone takes it away, you're not going to come after me. However, when it comes to a mechira, and it's achrayis, so therefore it's done that way. So if it's written for second for a matana, it's in order to remove the issue of bar mitzvah. And if you wrote mechira second, then in that situation, you did it in order to be able to let that person know that even if this land is taken away, you're going to be secure. So even if both of those situations, there's nothing additionally added onto it, still work. However, in the event there was nothing else added on to the second star, and they're the exact same, mecher, matana, matana, so in that situation, the second one will remove it. The question is, my taima. So we have two reasons. So the reason why the first one is batal, says Rashi, Bal hashtar shaharishim mezuyif. The fact is, it is a clear appearance that this first star, it's almost like the lokech is admitting that it was forged. And therefore, here we are writing a second star. So we only use the second star by allowing the moicher to write another star. The lokech again is admitting the first star was a forgery. Rav Acho disagrees with Rafram in the reasoning. Rav Acho Eimer achuli achle l'shibude. Maybe he's just being moichel on the shibud, and therefore he's pushing it off. And therefore, instead of the shibud being the first, let it be on the second. And therefore, the second is going to be mavatal the first. So my binai, what's the chiluk between these two cases? In either situation, the first star is being canceled. So ig binai urui sahadi. First of all, it has to do with the witnesses, the ones who actually signed on this first document. Basically, you're saying that they're puzzle. According to Rafram, he's saying that these are edim suim. However, according to Rav Acha, he's not saying that these are forgeries. He's just saying it's a totally different reason. Therefore, there's nothing wrong with the people that signed it. A second difference is the tashlumi peri. When it comes to the reimbursement of the profits in the interim, says the question is who actually owned the land in between these two dates. So it says Rashi, she'achal lokech, the buyer was eating these fruits. Ben zman rishon was man sheni l'rafra mishalim. So again, does he have to actually pay them back? So if the buyer actually owned the land from before, he doesn't have to pay it back. But if in fact we're saying that he was really not the owner, so then he does have to pay back for those fruits that he ate in the interim. And for that matter, also a taska, when it comes to paying the taxes on the land, property taxes. So it all depends on who was the owner at that time. So my Havila, Diksuba. So what exactly is the maskana? When can it be collected? So we said on yesterday's daf, there was a machlokus, if the Mana Masayim is B'shas Erison, but the Tosefis and the Nesuin, or everything is B'shas Nesuin. Tashema, the Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mar Shmuel, Mishum Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, Mana Masayim min Erison, but Tosefis min Nesuin. Which was the machlokus. What's the halacha? The hilchos min Nesuin. So it doesn't make any difference. Everything, even the Mana Masayim, everything is collected. The shibud is only from that time. Okay, question 7. So one was a mecher and another was a matana. Well, the first one matana and another was a mecher. In bittul shenis rishon, the answer is no and no. Matam, because the liafas is kaichai. So when it comes to writing the matana second, you are strengthening because of the dina demar metzra, and the second, if you was written by a mecher, you're strengthening it because of the Baal Choiv, if someone comes to collect the land. Next Mishnah. So the Mishnah talks about Hagiyarish Nisgaira Bita Ima. It's interesting that it mentions this case that not only did the girl convert, but also the mother together with the daughter. And it doesn't really seem to matter why it mentions that. And Tosfos picks up on this. Hadol Naka Hagiyarish Nisgaira Stama. Why does it just mention Stam? Why did it mention the daughter? Is Mishum da Ayri B'chusa B'Bas Sholosh. We're going to be talking about a case where the girl's less than 3 years old when she converted. The Ain Darkalis Gayer El Im Ima. I and the rest of Rashi, Taisus. So it makes sense that you have a girl who's less than 3 years old, but there are if the conversion is going to be taking place, it's probably the parent. Okay. So it's just the typical situation. Now what happened is Vizinsa, this girl who converted, she ends up being Mazana, says Rashi, Be'erison. She later on in life got engaged, and she was a Naira. Now normally the din of a Naira Hamarasa, there's a din of Skila. But here it says Harizu B'chenek. She's not going to get the punishment of Skila, but rather the punishment of Chenek. And Rashi says, even though she was less than 3 years old, and therefore that's becheskes basulahi, because she's considered still a ben basula at the time she converted. And again, this whole din is when she had to have been a basula. The ksiva skila, the ksiva skila, but nar hamarasa be Yisrael ksiva. It has to be someone be Yisrael. The ksiv kiyasis navel be Yisrael. So even though she's a Jew, obviously, but since she converted, it has to be Yisrael that she was born as a Jew. But if she was not born as a Jew, so then she's going to get the punishment of chenek, not skila. We're going to discuss all this. Harizu b'chenek, ein lo loy pesach beis ha'av. Also, you do not need to execute her or to bring her to the opening of the father's house, which is part of the ceremony. V'lo mea sela. There's also no din of 100 sela. If, let's say, we find that the husband is a liar, and there's a punishment of being Moitzi Shemra, she will not receive it. And again, this is all going to be discussed because it says the word Yisrael, it's going to be coming to exclude her. Let's say she was conceived when her parents were not Jewish, her mother was not Jewish, but then then her mother converted, so she was born as a Jew. It was not that she converted when she was less than 3. She was born as a Jew, but she was conceived not as a Jew. So the fact that she was born as a Jew, she's considered to be B'Yisrael, and therefore she gets the punishment of skila. However, for some reason, still the ein lo pesach beis ha'av. We still don't have this din of pesach beis ha'av, v'lo me'asela, and also not moitzi shemra. So the distinction in this middle situation, which we're going to see the next one in a second, is that there's the din of skill applies. Let's say her parents were already Jewish before they even conceived her. Then Hari Kabas Yisrael. Then certainly she's like a regular Yisrael, and therefore all the same laws apply. Yesh la'av. Let's say, and this is now a case of a regular Bas Yisrael. a regular girl, and she has a Yeshlo Av, she has a father, Ve'ein lo Pesach Beis Av, but the father has no house. Or Yeshlo Pesach Beis Av, Ve'ein lo Av, let's say she doesn't have a father, Harizu B'skila, she will still get skila. Or Nemer Pesach Beis Av, Elo Mitzvah. So it's not going to say that's ma'akev. It's like, okay, I don't get punished anymore because my father doesn't have a house. No. The din is that part of the ceremony is that she's brought Pesach Beis Aviyah. But if the father doesn't have it, or if she doesn't have a father, still the din still applies that she'll get the punishment of skila. As we continue to Mem Dalad Omid Beis. So the Gemara asks, Min Hanamili, how do we know, says Rashi, how do we know if we have this middle case where she was conceived not Jewish, but she was born as a Jew, that now she doesn't get chenek, she gets the punishment of skila? So because the pasuk says umesa. Now, if you look at Rashi says that when she dies, uskaluha kol anchi ira ba'avanim, that everyone pelts her with stones. Umesa, she dies. Now, when it says the mesa, that's an extra pasuk, because if someone's going to be stoned and thrown by a bunch of people, everyone in the city throwing huge rocks at you, you're going to die. So why does it mention umesa? It's a riboy. So it's a rabos harasa shel kedusha v'leidas v'kedusha. In this situation, the din is that she would still get skila. So Yehachi, if that's the diuk, milka nami nilke, then there should also be the din of malchus umeya selanami l'shalim. Why do we make a distinction at all? We should say that she gets all the same punishments like a regular Bas Yisrael. So Merkra umesa, because the pasuk says specifically by umesa, only lamisa nisrav, the lola kanas. It's specific that the Reboy is saying how she dies, which is beskila, which is mashma. In any other way, the dinim are not like a Bas Yisrael. Ve'lo rabos harasel v'leidas v'kedusha. Maybe it's coming to talking about a girl who was also conceived b'kedusha. So Gemara says that's not possible because he Israelis mal yasehi. Once you have a girl whose parents converted before she was even conceived, that's a regular Yisraelis. So the fact is, you don't need a pasuk as a reboy to tell you that she is going to get skila. Obviously, she's going to get skila because she's a regular Yisraelis. So the reboy must be coming to tell you a chiddush, even a case where the conception, when she was conceived, she was not a yid, but she was born as a Jew. Even there is skila. Maybe even if she was, again, let's say less than 3 years old when she converted, maybe we don't give chenek, we give skila. In Cain, b'Yisrael ma'hanile. The fact that it says b'Yisrael, that is coming to allude to the fact that she had to have been Jewish at the time of birth. Rav Yosi bar Chanina hamayte shemra al Yisayma. A person is hamayte shemra. Again, a man who marries a woman and claims that she was a ba'ula, and because of that, he has tainus damim. So when it comes to Yisayma, potter. So if a man is lying about her not being a basula, so he doesn't pay if there's no father. Shnemer v'nosnu avi hanaira, that you have to give it to the father. Prat lazu she'in la'av. If she has no father, then not. So 1 second. Meis Rabbi Yosef bar Ovin. So he asked the question. V'item Rabbi Yosef bar Zvida. V'im moin yimoin avia. It says if the father refuses. So this is referring to, Rashi says, mamafata kasmadaber, that once a woman is seduced, mafata, so the man must marry her, but the father has a right to refuse the marriage. So that's Rabas Yisayma Kanas. That's coming to include, when it comes to a Yisayma, that she gets Kanas de Rabbi Yosef Galili. The question is, why, when it comes to the case of a Yisayma, does she not get the Moitzi Shemra money does not go to her because she doesn't have a father. So why would she get the Kanas? Mayanis Mafata. So who Moisavav who Mafarkla? He answered, but what happened was he was Mafata her at the time that she had a father. And therefore, at the time, there was a father at that moment. And then afterwards, she became a Yavama, says Rashi. It's coming to exclude. And therefore, if there's no father, the din is that you're not going to get. However, in this situation, because there was a chiyuv mamoin while the father was still alive, and then he died, so therefore in that situation the daughter will get the money. Rabbi Omer chayiv. Rabbi says it doesn't make any difference. When it comes to Moitzi Shemra, Al Yesaima, it's not true. You're not going to be potter, even though you have this pasuk Menastel Avi Hanaira. No, I hold that you're still chayiv. Memai Meditani Ami Besulas Yisrael. The fact that it says Ami Besulas Yisrael v'lo Besulas Gerim. So this is coming to tell us that only Besulas Yisrael v'lo Besulas Gerim. Says Rashi, V'ha Besulas Gerim Yisaimehi. When we're talking about a Besulas Ger, that's considered she's like a Yisaima, like she has no parents. The Rachman the Afkar Lazare. The Mitzri Kishel Chamor, the Chsev Zaramtem Susim Zaramtem. So it's like she doesn't have a child, she doesn't have a parent. So the fact that we have this whole drasha of only Besulas Yisrael but not Besulas Gerim, now Besulas Gerim is always is a Yisaima. So why would we mention that? It must be because it's only Besulas Gerim that for whatever reason we say not. However, Besulas Yisrael, even though she would be a Yisaima, would still be chayiv. So if you want to say that in this case, that even though the father is not in the picture, she would still get the Moitzi Shemra money. That's why you can exclude Gerim. There's a reason for it. As we said, when it comes to Besulas Gerim, she's already a Yisaima. So if we're already going to pater because the Yisrael girl is a Yisaima from getting the Motzi Shemra money, if she's not going to get the Motzi Shemra money because she's the Yisaima, so why do you need to tell us also a convert? Obviously, she's not going to get the money because she's also considered like a Yisaima. It must be, for whatever reason, we say that when it comes to Besulas Gerim, she doesn't get Motzi Shemra. However, when it comes to Bas Yisrael, even though she is a Yisaima, the din is that she will. Okay. Question 8, which we skipped over. Ksiv benara hamarasa shezinsa v'skalua kol anshi ira ba'avanim v'mesa. Ma'abel lamed kra umesa d'yiserahu. What do we do with this extra drasha of umesa? So we saw on the very top was Rabbis harasa shel kedusha v'leidasa b'kedusha. That was question number 8. Okay, let's continue. Amar Reish Lakish. HaMoitzi Shemra. So again, we have this machlokas when it comes to Moitzi Shemra on a Yisaima. What about Moitzi Shemra al Katana? What if you're Moitzi Shemra on a girl who is a Katana? So on this, Potter. So he says that also you're Potter. Why? Shnemer Nostal Avi Hanaira. Naira Mole Dirakaso. We had this before. The fact over here, it mentions by Moitzi Shemra Naira and it has it with a hey. It's Mole. So why is it saying that? It's telling you Dafka. Says Rashi, Mechomakim ksiv nara without a hey, v'kan ksiv nara with a hey. Mole l'hoitzis a katana. The fact that it's saying it this way is to tell you it's only a naira and not a katana. So when it comes to Moitzi Shemra al katana, the fact that it's written mole, the word naira, and therefore it's come to exclude a katana. So mask of Rav Achabar Abba time ksiv but not hanaira. It's only because it's written that way. Otherwise, you would think that when it comes to being Moitzi Shemra on a katana, that you would be mechayev. Haksiv im emes haya hadavar. We had this before. So one of the things, if in fact it's true that she committed adultery, the din is of a naira hamarasa that is zinsa. She gets a death penalty. It's misa b'dei adam, the harsh punishment of skill. The katana la bas einshin he. We know the katana is not bas einshin. So we already know, obviously it's come to exclude her. Elkan naira, over here it says naira with a hey. Naira without a hey, afil katana b'mashma. It's coming to even come to include a katana. So over here, you're right. Obviously, we're only talking about a naira. We cannot be talking about a katana. So there's no question that a Moitzi Shemra al katana is potter. Because the whole din of Moitzi Shemra, this whole parsha cannot be talking about a katana, because if in fact it was true, she wouldn't be killed. So this whole parsha cannot be talking about a katana. But the chiluk is when you find it's without a hey. For example, when it comes to the dinim of oinus mafata, so it's written sometimes without a hay. So if it's without a hay, then it's coming to tell you that's not only the din of a naira, but even when it comes to a katana. And we had a whole discussion whether or not there is a din kanas on a katana. Here, we're going to stop here. TA 29. Naira hamarasa shazinsa umishabagra hoitzalav shemra he beskilav who ain't like a. Okay. Didn't do that. There's no questions on TA. TB 30. Naira hamarasa shazinsa matai sokanos al pesach sha'ir adkan.